Good evening. Welcome. On behalf of Jim Driscoll, Cam Cachet, and myself, Mike Kavicki, I want to thank you all for coming to this evening's Dalton Fire District informational meeting. The Dalton Fire District consists of three-member prudential board that has oversight over a three-member board of water commissioners who oversees the fire chief, the water department superintendent, clerk treasurer, along with a dedicated staff consisting of medical support staff, full-time volunteer firefighters, and the water department staff. Just a little bit of information before I turn it over to Chief. This year there'll be an election for one member for the Prudential Committee, one member for the Commissioners Board, and the Dalton Fire District Moderator. I have to read this to make sure I get it right because I messed it up 3 times already today. The voting will take place at the Dalton Fire Department on May 14th, starting at 8 a.m. in the morning and go until 7 p.m. in the evening. The annual Dalton Fire District meeting will be May 14th at 7 p.m. in the stationery factory. Tonight, the chief will be sharing information about the services provided and the benefits of having a fully staffed advanced support life ambulance and a trained fire department. I'll now hand it over to the chief because I think he's got a pretty decent PowerPoint presentation to show you. Thanks.
Well, welcome everybody. Thanks to Berkshires and obviously the local community TV channel for being here tonight. I am not going to start off by introducing myself because I have some slides for that. And so we're going to get started. We'll stay on track. We'll take questions at the end. And sit back, buckle up, because we're in for a little bit of a ride. You ready? Let's go. So you'll see, I'm one person who really likes quotes, and this one's from JFK. Change is the law of life, and those who only look to the past or present are certain to miss the future. I feel a little odd I feel like I'm anchored here, but I'll come out here in a little bit. So here we are, talking about the Dalton Fire District Strategic Plan and Budget for 2025. And we're going to have some facts to get you started. A lot of people in our community don't realize that the fire district is not part of the town of Dalton. And that's an important distinction. The tax rate for the town of Dalton is currently $17.01 per $1,000 of assessed property value. The fire district is currently $1.19 per $1,000 of assessed value. The fire district for the town of Dalton provides the people with all hazards mitigation, fire, EMS, rescue, hazardous materials, inspection, investigation, community education, permitting, good intent assistance, etc. I'm going to expand upon this later on as we go through this PowerPoint. How does that compare? So I was looking for some comparisons of the Dalton Fire District, population-wise, service-wise, and I believe maybe the best representation, and I love the town of Great Barrington. I went to middle school there. So Great Barrington in comparison is a $1.59 tax rate per thousand. They provide no EMS service. They have no 24/7 firefighters on duty. Dalton Fire District has 8. Compared to Beckett Ambulance, who runs a ambulance service 24/7, 365 days a year, they average, according to their website, 250 calls a year. The Dalton ambulance runs 4 times that amount, and it's just going up. Another important aspect that people don't understand is that when they see the fire department and they see the police department, they believe it is an essential service. And I'm going to talk more about that later on when I get to part 3 about EMS. But EMS is not an essential service that has to be provided underneath Massachusetts general law. So how a properly staffed and equipped fire department protects you and saves you money. Let's take a look.
Fire departments across the U.S. strive to provide the best services to their residents, but some are a cut above the rest, including the Flower Mound Fire Department. They just earned the highest possible public protection classification. It takes effect December 1st.
Public protection classifications are used by the Insurance Service Offices, or ISO, to rate fire suppression capabilities of fire departments in the United States, and it is ranked 1 to 10, with 1 being the best. The Flower Mound Fire Department earned the ISO 1 rating through a joint effort through the town. So not only is it the fire department and what it can provide daily for fire suppression capabilities, but also Public Works and the water system, the dispatch office and how they're able to dispatch our units efficiently and effectively, and also through funding in the town. So a second truck company, we needed that for ISO, as well as Station 7. That was a part of decreasing response times in parts of the town, and those were all integral parts in the ISO 1 rating that the town has received.
With this prestigious rating, the Flower Mound Fire Department joins an elite class of departments across the U.S.
Receiving a Class 1 rating as a fire department in the United States is pretty rare. There are over 50,000 fire departments in the U.S., and of those, only about 70 in Texas have achieved an ISO 1 rating, and just over 400 in the U.S. have been awarded an ISO Class 1. The new ISO 1 rating will mean for town residents and businesses that they will have a lower insurance rating on their properties. This can also serve as an economic development tool to bring businesses to the town where they can enjoy a lower insurance rate on their properties.
While the fire department was on the front lines of this endeavor, it was only made possible through a town-wide effort.
Receiving a Class 1 through ISO not only speaks well to the Flower Mound Fire Department, but to the town at large, because there are other departments involved in us receiving that top-tier designation. And so it shows that us and these other departments in the town are operating efficiently and effectively and are joined by very few other organizations across the United States.
All right, so that's part 1. That's only meant to get your brains turning. Part 2 and part 3, we're gonna get a little bit more in depth, but I wanna get you thinking about where we're going, okay? We gotta align our vision and purpose and goals to benefit the community. So, here I am, Fire Chief. Just to let you know a little bit about me, I'm a former United States Marine. I'm also a certified professional kindergarten through 6th grade. I'm looking around and I see the firemen out here. You want to learn fire ground management? Go over to Cranesville, substitute for 1st grade. And if you can line those kids up, get them to lunch, recess, and on time, you'll be easily well-trained to handle the fire ground. So my hat's off to all those teachers out there and the veterans. And if I got any Marine Corps in here, Semper Fi. And honestly, I'm a fireman. There I am, graduating fire school. Over here is a Make-A-Wish event that we did. I've got a little over 25 years of experience in the fire department. I've got lots of education and training, advanced degrees in legal studies, public administration, degrees in public safety, emergency management, fire science, fire officer 4, incident management, and the list goes on and on. I'm not telling you this because I want to tell you about my accomplishments, because I'm proud of what I've done. But without a great community like Dalton to apply that knowledge, to apply that experience, it's nothing more than a certificate on the wall. Putting that knowledge into action is the goal that I have as fire chief for this town. So part of the fire department was developing a vision. So we got to have a vision statement. You'll see that in the strategic plan. You're going to see that in the department handbook. And the members of the Dalton Fire District, through our commitment to innovation, service, and excellence, will always strive to be leaders in fire and life safety services and be the model of success of a successful fire department. You know, when I came here, I looked around the department. I guess I got to stay close to this microphone. I apologize for the hiccups there with the video. We got to have a vision. Who are we? Where are we? Where are we going? What's our purpose? How do we align that purpose with serving the community? Okay? All of us, and I'm looking around at my fellow firefighters and the public, how many times have I heard that it can't be done? How many times have you heard it? I hear it all the time. We're planning a budget. We're planning to move forward. You know how many times I've heard or been told that we need to have a backup plan? What's the backup plan for the fire department anyway? Who do you call? Who do we call when the firemen can't come? We gotta have a vision, we gotta have a purpose. And there'll always be people out there that say it can't be done or have a fallback. I don't know if it's the Marine Corps in me, but we gotta take objectives and we gotta provide a service. So I'm making the strategic plan, making the handbook, and making the policies and procedures and everything that goes along with a emergency service organization. We got to align that. So the purpose of the Dalton Fire District is to provide fire suppression, emergency medical and rescue response, hazardous materials response, reduce community risk, which I just had a conversation about the Green Committee, educate the public, and provide fire inspections and investigations to the residents, visitors, and businesses of the town of Dalton. These are all aimed towards a simple goal of making it a great place to live, raise your family, have a business, visit, hike, fish, bike, whatever it is you want to do. We want you to do it in Dalton, and we want to make sure you're safe. That's a pretty noble calling. So the purpose in providing these services is also to consistently improve. As we learn of better techniques, methods, methodologies, applications, we have to be up to date. We have to provide the highest level of service that we can. We got to improve our professionalism, that's training, education, our efficiency, getting the best bang for the buck. And we have to, like tonight, come and more often speak to those that we're providing a service to. We have a vision. We have a purpose. We're here to minimize and mitigate risk. And as you saw in the first video, who else is in that business? The insurance company, right? We're both in the reduced risk and mitigate emergencies. Now they have a little different aim, but we can align those two concerns. Now, you'll see on the right-hand side some language in red and blue, and it's talking about the ISO. And you're gonna see where I'm going with this. So our goals in the strategic plan are simple. Goal number 1, staffing. We're looking at 2 positions during peak run times. So the 2 new staffing firefighters that the Dalton Fire District wants to hire are 2 young, up-and-coming, on-call members of the fire department that we want to go over full-time. We can get them trained and up to speed as firefighter 2s to be the highest level of training for interior firefighting for life safety. Get them to EMT school, okay? Not have to pay overtime to have coverage because we're already running a minimum of 2 people. These are Dalton young men, 2 firefighters from Dalton. How did I come up with 2 and at 12 hours? Well, when I looked at the data, the run call data, which we look at each month at the commission meetings, most of the calls, nearly 80% or more, are between the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night. People are at work. People have to work 2 jobs these days. The likelihood that they're able to leave work and come back and help during an emergency is very truthful, difficult to do when you're providing for your family. So by putting them on 12-hour shifts, the 2 of them, we will have 3 people available 24/7, well, not 24/7 hours a day, 12 hours a day, all 7 days, 365 days a year. We can't get there all at once, but we can build, and we can get them trained, we can get them up to speed. So that's where the 2 firefighters come from. It's not help with the chief. It's not more administrative assistance. Where the rubber meets the road is a hands-intensive, people-intensive service. Training. So we want to do professional development, training, education, core competencies. We want the best educated and trained people to show up at your emergency. At your time of need, you need to know, or it shouldn't even be a thought. We should be providing the best to help you in your time of need. And I wouldn't expect anything less. And we have that. We have the highest level. But we can keep going. We never reach the acme. We never reach the top. We're always striving to do better. In community outreach programs to reduce that risk. We can talk about fire prevention. We can talk about schools. But one of the things I'd like to do in the near future is maybe start a Citizens Firefighter Academy. Have people come in and learn a little bit how to mitigate things around their home. Maybe a home program, helping others minimize emergencies. What do you do? Shut off the electric, shut off the gas. Some things that you can do as a community to be proactive. It's not a replacement for 911. We always want help on the way, but it surely helps if you could take some steps at home to help mitigate that emergency. The best emergency you'll ever have is the one you don't read about. The best fire, vehicle accident, emergency medical call is the ones that you don't read in the paper. That means everybody's okay and the emergency's been mitigated. Over on the right, back in July 2015, Dalton Fire Department did have an ISO evaluation by the insurance company to give it its property protection class. In blue, you can see the scoring. So company personnel, 4.35 out of a possible 15 points. That aligns with goal number 1 of increasing our staffing. Trained personnel, 3.5 points out of a possible 9. Okay? That goes with goal number 2, increasing our training and professionalism. Deployment of personnel, 7 points out of 10. So by hiring people and better training them, our deployment strategies, which is in the guidelines and procedures of how we mitigate emergencies, electrical lines down, vehicle accidents, fires, apartment fires, all the things that we could sit here and list, helps us when they come and evaluate that. Many of you here have not seen it, but here it is. Here's the summary. Somewhere along the way, I don't know who the chief was in 2015, but he was on the right path. He was on the proverbial fire ladder, climbing to the top, going up the rungs, getting evaluated, seeing what he can do in the community, and aligning what we could benefit the community in saving and insurance on their homes and businesses with the needs of the fire department. And you can see that. So the scores are there. Now we got some work to do. Somewhere between 2015 and 2024, we stopped climbing the ladder. But we can see every couple of years, if we get evaluated, we can see where we need to improve. And I think the community will get behind that. Because as we improve, they improve on their homeowners insurance. They improve on their business insurance. And I'm sure the investment in the fire department and EMS is a much better dollar spent than it is giving it to your insurance company. So you can see it right there, and there's things we got to work on. You can see we had 4 points for a ladder company. We don't have a ladder company. It's something we're going to have to address, right? So this presentation isn't about getting into the weeds and details of ISO, but it's letting you know that we're aligning the strategic goals that you saw there with bettering our score. We got to maintain it and improve it. Those are dollars well spent. And if you haven't gotten the point yet, I'm laughing because I can make you watch another video.
Chief Brian Goss of the Brentwood Fire and Rescue Department got some really good news for the city and its residents. His department has achieved its highest rating ever for public protection by the ISO, the Insurance Services Office, a national nonprofit organization which reviews fire departments throughout the country. It's a rating that comes out every 3 years.
This year, Brentwood achieved an ISO rating of 2, which places us in the top 3% of those departments in the country and in the state of Tennessee. And it's a 2-point improvement over the ISO's Class 4, which we've been for about 20 years.
The rating scale is from 1 to 10, 1 being the best. Climbing the ladder from an ISO rating 4 to a 2 is certainly unusual and impressive, but you might be thinking, that's great for the department, but what does that mean to me as a citizen of Brentwood? Well, if you're a homeowner or business owner, the high rating could save you money.
On average, nationwide, going from a 4 to a 2 can mean a reduction of up to 10% in insurance premiums. So that's actually money back in their pockets. What we would recommend they do is contact their insurance company now that the ISO 2 rating has gone into effect for the city of Brentwood, and let them know that we're an ISO 2 community now, and it could be make a noticeable difference.
Chief Goss says the ISO evaluates each department on various benchmarks and takes a team effort from a handful of departments within the city to get this outstanding rating.
That rating based on water supply, fire department operations, fire station locations, communications technology. Our water department's done a great job modeling our hydrant system and our water supply in the city. We feel confident that we protect our citizens extremely well. We are very happy with our ISO 2.
All right, so it wasn't my math. I taught math in 4th grade, math and science, but I took this from a news report here from Times Herald. And basically it just, once again, reinforces the fact that if we're investing our tax dollars wisely, not only are we improving the community protection, we're improving without people, a lot of people don't understand this, but we are helping them without them even knowing. That feels good. All right. Oh, we're getting close to the end. Understanding emergency medical services. Here we go. Man, I miss the past. Who else misses it? My father's here tonight, so I want to thank him for when I was 6 years old and my brother ran me over with a bicycle and broke my leg in 2 spots. He lovingly carried me in the car and brought me to Hillcrest Hospital by Berkshire Community College. My grandmother's not here, but she gave me a nice ice pack when I, wrecked my bike and broke my nose. Unfortunately, those years have long gone. And as a paramedic, I understand that when somebody breaks a bone or is sick or is injured, you don't want to move them. You can cause further damage to the ligaments, tendons, to the bone growth. Just like a broken stick, that bone could go right into an artery or vein, and you could bleed out. Things change. We need to change. As we better understand emergency services and the blessing we have of having an ambulance in the town of Dublin, that provides the highest level of care on the street, we have to recognize that comes with a cost. Knowledge is power, and the service we provide has to change as times change. There's 2 slides in a row, and this one is just cardiac arrest. And basically, if you look at the slide, what I want you to get from is the fact that it doesn't matter if it's a cardiac arrest or a heart attack where your heart muscle's dying, a stroke where your brain tissue is dying, a seizure, a car accident, a fall, a diabetic emergency. Time matters. That's what that slide says. Time matters in caring for people. This is a great graph for all you math people out there. It's a bell curve. But this is about fire. Time matters. The ability to arrive on scene and put water on the fire to help mitigate it, whether it's a medical emergency, whether it's a fire. There's a saying in the fire department and EMS, minutes matter. Now this next part, I cut and paste. To help me go through this is from the Berkshire Eagle, March 28th, 2024. There was a fire EMS meeting in Lenox, pretty much with all the department heads from fire or EMS services, volunteer, public, private, talking about literally the crisis in Berkshire County when it comes to emergency medical care. And I talked about it there in the first slide, but I think out in the community, we believe that if the Dalton Fire Department doesn't provide EMS, that the town will. No. EMS is not an essential service. When the volunteer Dalton ambulance, because running an ambulance is expensive, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, they first approached the town. And the town declined to provide EMS service. If you look at the history of the fire department, the town declined to provide fire service, which is why we're having this meeting today to talk about the fire EMS budget. We Are One is the most cost-effective, efficient, emergency service delivery model in the country. Fire EMS. And everybody likes to know. So there's only 13 states that consider it an essential service, and you can see they're listed there because everybody likes to know which states, and you'll see that Massachusetts is not a part of that. So where's that funding come from? Funding for advanced life support, basic life support, transport comes from Medicare or Medicaid. And we all understand the federal bureaucracy of the difficulty in getting reimbursed. And I don't think any of us here would argue that those reimbursements don't nearly cover the cost of running an ambulance. So the other part of that comes from user fees. If people get concerned about the budget for the fire department, and we like to add a percentage to it, and the percentage always sounds like it's a bad number, but the fire EMS service for Dalton runs on user fees, which we get reimbursed through the health insurance, Medicare and Medicaid, and user fees. User fees and tax dollars. We're not for profit. We don't have a bottom line. We're not in it to make a profit, which is why it's the most cost-effective model there is. You might read in the news lately, or if you follow the news, you'd know that Adams Ambulance, their financial issues were so severe that it dropped as the primary providers for Adams, Cheshire, and Savoy. But I tell you, towns are not required to provide it. These are not my words, but it is true that running a single ambulance costs about, I would agree, $750,000 a year. And we're watching community after community in Berkshire County arguing about covering the cost of something that I would argue is priceless. How do you put a dollar figure on caring for others? I talked a little bit about the Dalton ambulance. They transferred over to the fire department, which is now the Dalton Fire EMS service. Probably one of the best things that happened to Dalton. It's the fire department running EMS. All hazards, mitigation. We have dual trained people, one of the things I didn't touch on. People ask me about the cost of personnel. When you look at the cost of personnel for someone on a private ambulance, you generally want to try to compare them with the cost of trying to look at, we'll use ourselves, Dalton. Person on the ambulance is trained as an EMT or paramedic. They are not going to come to your house for a fire. They are not going to come to your house for a fall, a lift assist at the community center or at the nursing home. Okay? You get firefighters, EMT. You get a firefighter, paramedic. You get people who are trained in all hazard mitigation. You get like the BOGO. Buy one, get one. Because you're getting two well-trained fire personnel for what most agencies in the private world pay for one. Do they cost a little more? Yep. Well, how much do you think it costs just to pay a fireman on this hand, and then somebody who just pays EMS? So you're getting somebody who's cross-trained. Fire EMS, the most cost-effective service in the country. So in that study, it refers to the fact that, like many communities, and I've dealt with this in my past, in my history, and I could go down that, but there is this reluctance to change. We keep analyzing data, coming to the same conclusion in what I like to call analysis paralysis. Nothing's gotten better in 5 years. If we don't have a vision and a purpose and a goal to better ourselves and better our community in our emergency work, what's going to change in the next 5 years? Now, I put in something in here is unique, and I've talked to it about our elected officials a little bit, is that the fire district is unique. We don't have to get into town politics. Our ambulance not only stays in Dalton, it helps our friends and neighbors and residents and visitors in other towns. It's in Pittsfield, helping Pittsfield. It's in Windsor. It's in Peru. It's in Hinsdale. It's mutual aid. We care not only about ourselves, we care about our neighbors. But there is a fact that we are going to have a conversation, is that it is expensive. And we all need to share as the Berkshire community in offsetting those costs. I firmly believe that can't just simply be on the taxpayers of Dalton. And I think everybody would agree with that. We got to work together. Now, what's nice about a district is that the district is a different political entity than the town. So we can work and have good substantive conversations on whether or not these residents are interested or how they can contribute to the success of our team here at Dalton Fire Rescue. And that's the future. That's a way to help keep the costs low, keep the taxes low, is everybody should be contributing to the service that they get provided. A few more quotes, a couple more slides. Cannot sustain our payroll, right? We see this all the time in the paper. As a result, 6 communities were charged services starting last year with a surge of 36%. So as this gets reported and I read it in the Berkshires, or maybe I'll read it in the Berkshire News, and maybe I'll see it on the local thing, and I'll see, well, the Dalton Fire District is going up X%. It ain't going up 36%. It's not going up 36%. It's going up not even half that amount. And we have plans in the future because we have a vision on how we can help other communities help us with the expense of running this medic unit, because it's there for all of us. We've shown that. Now, this is the last point. And I read it in Berkshire today, which was a great story. I'm coming into Berkshire County, my fire service history and career from another department, and I'm looking at what's the goals and objectives. And I've seen some great facilities out there. And these are 2 that are named in there, 50 million to 60 million for Lennox and Lee. I like Lennox, I like Lee, I like all these things, but I will tell you, as a fire chief at Dalton, make no mistakes about it. First and foremost, every tax dollar is going to be where the rubber meets the road. It's where the service meets the customer. It's making sure our men and women who are willing to sacrifice and answer that call have the tools and equipment to provide whoever, whenever they need help. Before I start considering the fire chief's office, the fire chief's car. The last time I checked, the fire station does not grow wheels and show up at your emergency. So when it's out there in the public, what we're asking for is new medic units, additional training, additional personnel. It's where the substance and the value of emergency service is at. So in those packets, you'll look, and this is just the total number of calls. And here's the point. In the last 5 years, the call volume for Dalton Fire District has increased over 60%. The budget hasn't gone up 60%, but the call volume has. And EMS calls account for 70 to 80% of that. Now, everybody wants to know what's the dollars, right? What's the dollars? What's that mean when it says percent? And I think how that's displayed or how that's reported in the news, it's not a failure of the news. I think it's a failure of the fire department to properly explain what we're talking about when it comes to your money. So in the draft budget that we're working on, which isn't complete, we have a few more budget workshops. My best estimation is, and this is a high estimation, because it always looks better if I say high and it comes in lower, you guys will be happy. If I come in low and it's higher, you guys will be looking for, Dalton Fire Chief. But in these examples, you can see, I applied the same tax rate and the different values of houses. So if your property value comes in from the assessor at $250,000, you're paying $375 annually. $31.25 a month. $300,000, $37.50 a month. Now I'm telling you, I believe these estimations are high. And if I turn it into a percentile and would say, well, we're from 2 to 10%, a lot of people, oh my God, that's an 8% increase, that's crazy. When I'm telling you you're paying like 20, 30, 40 bucks more for a 24/7 fire rescue EMS service where additional personnel to come to your house on any given day, including Christmas, for less than the cost of a cell phone or many streaming services, I don't know where you find a better use of money. Now, in your packet, I had a broken down list where you can see, and it goes more in depth if people want to see those and put them out in the community, but that's basically what we're looking at. I honestly believe it's going to be about 1.35 for my research and data analysis, but this is at 1.5, like I said. But if it was at 1.5, if you had a $400,000 house, you're talking $50 a month. And I already know we got some of the lowest water bills in town. Now, before I take questions, usually when I prepare these things, it's just natural to be nervous. And when I sit in my office, I have a frame stand, and it's here, Man in the Arena, Teddy Roosevelt, 26th President gave in Paris. And I think it's important, it's not particularly about the fire department or EMS, it's about life, and it's about something I like to share every chance I get. I think I've made a bunch of firemen watch it already. But I think it's an important lesson for everybody to think about when they're out there before I take any questions.
The poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride in cynicism. There are many who confine themselves to criticism of the way others do what they themselves dare not even attempt. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief toward all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort which, even if it fails, comes to second achievement. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who was actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
So, to all my firemen out there, commissioners, I want you to know, you're here, you protect the most vulnerable people and population in our community. The sick, the injured, the young, the old, people with disabilities. You protect their businesses, you protect their homes. You pick up that phone, call 911, they'll even help somebody up off the floor. You'll show up for a broken pipe, you'll show up to help, whatever the call may be, to help mitigate it and make it better. I don't know what the cost of that is. But I'm proud to be your chief. And I want you guys to know you come first. And the community comes first. And I appreciate everybody coming. So, with that, if anybody has any questions, here I am. No? Yes, sir.
Could you just say again, what is our ISO classification now, and what will it be after the hiring of the 2 additional personnel and with the extra training?
So the ISO classification now is 3. So over that course of time, so ISO shows up, you have to invite them. So typically they'll come to a community every 3, 4, or 5 years. So it's been a long time. So with this budget cycle, what I'd like to do is work on making sure, having gone through ISO before, actually several times down in Florida, is to make sure we have the proper training records, retention. I'm working on new policies and procedures. They will come through, and with a fine-tooth comb, they're going to evaluate different things. They'll evaluate the 911 system, which 2015 has improved. They'll evaluate the water system, but 50% of the score is the fire department. So I can't predict what it can be, but I can help prepare and talk to other fire service experts in the area, talk to ISO. I know what they're looking for, make sure we're up to speed, and that way when we invite them back, we want to be going up the ladder, right? We want to maintain or go up, so we help with those insurance premiums and benefits that the community gets, while at the same time increasing ours. So I can't give you a solid answer of what it will be, but I know by starting that we're on the path towards bettering it. And I can see that just by what the scoring is. Back in 2015, I don't think we even had 8 full-time firefighters. And so our personnel has already improved. Our training has improved. But beyond ISO, that I didn't talk about, which is important if you read in the books, is about OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. OSHA requires that on a fire, take like a single-story residential fire, that you have 2 trained, certified firefighters inside and 2 trained, certified firefighters outside. That's a minimum of 4 people. So we're not going to get there in 1 year, but if we take the training and education over a series of years, we can look back and listen, it's the strategic plan, it says 3 years, but it's a living document. So I want to make a community citizenship advisory committee to come in and help guide the future. And as a living document, it can change. We can't be just stuck in the black and white, the world's a living color. So to give you an honest answer, I don't exactly know what the score will be, but I know how to improve the score, and that's what we're going to work towards. You've got the floor. Yes.
When you were showing the slide, you talked about the ratings from ISO, and we had a 3.8 for a ladder, about a 4. And then you said something about we don't have that anymore. Do we not have a ladder truck? Maybe I misunderstood what you said. Yeah, it's 3.85 out of 4.
Right. In 2015, the Dalton Fire Department had a ladder truck. We no longer have a ladder truck. So we would receive 0 points in that category. So a lot of people like to picture the ladder truck, you know, like it's going to go to the Home Depot or the Walmart, right? It's going to go down to the mill and it's going to save the day. Okay, ladder trucks aren't about height, it's about reach. And really what the ladder truck is about and why it would be so important to the Dalton community is because it's about residential homes. When I walk around with my dog, I see 2-story, 3-story homes. It is there from the roadways and the access points that we need to have reach to ventilate the roof, get to the upper floors. It's not going to run down to the mill and save the mill. The ladder truck's not going to save Home Depot from burning down. But Dalton is a residential community. And what we need a ladder truck for is the most important thing, is that is families and young children and people, the residents, to be able to access those upper floors, get on the roof, release the heat and gases. Everybody likes to see the nice picture where, you know, if you look at, you know, it's up there in the air and they're squirting water down. But really what it is a tool that's best utilized on 2- and 3-story residential homes to get our firemen safely in and out of the window accesses and on the roof. That's why it's so important. And ISO recognizes that. So we had 4 points there, but you know, honestly, it's something that we're working on as a department that we got to find a proper replacement to. Because it's also not just simply that you sit down and Chief Tobin finds his favorite fire truck. We got to find the right ladder truck that fits the community and what its needs are. And I'm very much a needs person. You know, the use of tax dollars is the utmost integrity and character and trust you can have in that we're spending it wisely and getting what's needed, not what's wanted. We all want things, but what's needed and fits the community best. Sir.
Are you already providing services to adjacent towns, and are they paying your fire district for those services? And if not, what's the plan to get them to pay something?
We are providing, when they call and we're dispatched, we do send the ambulance to provide medical services to the neighboring communities, wherever that call may be. There have been times, I'll be honest with you, that I've seen where our ambulance is out in another town and a medical call comes in Dalton, and now our resident is waiting on, you know, a private ambulance company like Action or County to come, right? So now we have a delayed response, especially when minutes matter. So the ambulance does go out, you know, to help other communities. Are we receiving money from those communities? That answer is no. That's why I believe, you know, listen, I believe in facing problems up front and having those tough conversations. You can't ignore them. And the simple truth is, I just don't, you know, there's always public service is politics. I don't want to have anything. I want everybody to have the best service. We need to have those conversations on how they can contribute to the success of the Dalton fire rescue community. And I think we are advantageous in that we're a separate district. So we're not getting into town politics and town lines. You could actually just look at just taking in the EMS service and expanding those boundaries. They can have their town fire, you don't have to disrupt a lot of things. There's a lot of different ways and methods to have those conversations, but until I had them, I really don't know what the right path in the woods is. Because there's, you know, what the community feels, the politics too. But it's definitely 100% one we need to have. Because every time our ambulance goes to another community or another town, it's not available here. And so that's a problem. Was there another part to that? Sir?
Yeah, good question. Well, follow up on Mr. Rose's questions. How often are these ISO evaluations happen? Every year, yearly, or is it ongoing?
You have to invite them to come. So what I want to do is make sure before we invite them to come that we are going to, we don't want to go backwards. So they don't just show up, you have to invite them to come. But typically a fire department will do it every 3, 4, or 5 years to demonstrate, like in the videos, they're able to demonstrate that they've improved their level of service. So we want to improve our level of service and work towards inviting them as soon as possible.
You only invite them when you're ready for them. It's not a standardized 1 year, 2 years, or every 10 years, like an audit for town books.
No, it's not a standardized thing.
Thank you.
Everybody happy?
One quick question. Talking about training being one of your goals to accomplish something that's 3 or 4 years, correct? Getting the new personnel training up to say standards. How are we gonna work on developing a training program, or what kind of training are we gonna give those people, on what costs of the community to do it?
That's a great question. So, previously, the Dalton Fire Department sponsored some people to go to school, medical school or fire school. And they've left for better wages and benefits. So part of the handbook and the budget process is every person that works at Dalton or stays at Dalton is an investment of the community's tax dollars. From putting their boots on them to the helmet to the training and education. I think we all recognize that. So having good wages and benefits and training opportunities. So one of the things in the handbook is a professional development where they could sign up and go to school, and we're gonna help develop that. Now, particularly with these two firefighters from Dalton, is we ran into a problem is that you gotta have 2 people on the medic unit, right? So if we send one of them off to fire school or school, we're paying overtime to backfill that, correct? So during this course of time over the next year, we could hire these 2 young firefighters on duty. We'll keep our staffing at 2. Then we won't, and then when they go to the Massachusetts Fire Academy, which is free, or EMT school, we don't have to pay overtime to backfill that spot, and we're getting them up to speed. Now, there might be some little leeway of whether or not they're gonna stay, they're gonna take this and go, but you can actually have them sign contracts that, hey, we're gonna pay for you to go to school, you guarantee us so many years, or if you go, so I'll develop that whole program. But by allowing these 2 to get off, to go to school, they come back, and the next fiscal year, we'll do 2 more. So we're not gonna be able to do it all at once. We're not gonna be able to get up there and meet all these lofty goals, but I see them up there, and we're gonna climb towards them. And so that's why it'll be the plan over 2 or 3 years. But by bringing them on, we can maintain the 2 on duty and get them going. And then, you know what? And then that's going to reduce our overtime too, because if they're not at training or on duty, we could still run a minimum of 2 and not have to call back 1. So how it perfectly balances out, there's definitely flexibility and better management in that stuff.
Now, will you still eligible for like a safer grant for hiring personnel, depending on our ISO rating?
Yeah, anybody can apply for a safer grant. Getting grants is very, we've been lucky with grants, but you can't build a fire service based upon, right? I think that's right. It's right of maybe the hopes that we're going to get something. We don't know if we're going to get it or not, and we're lucky if we do. And you can certainly apply for the grants. Some of the money in the budget and why it's going up is that some of these grants, in order to even apply, because it's based on the scoring system, we got to have certain things in place, right? And so some of that money has to be allocated to getting the right designs in place and engineering and all these other things, just to even, step on the ball field and play the game. But let's always remember, everybody, no one likes to pay taxes, but we all like taking somebody else's taxes, right? So, listen, every federal grant is somebody else's taxes, all right? So, that's what I like about the tax game. So we all got to be invested in it. And what's great is, one of the things I didn't really talk about here with the budget, and I found in budgeting, is that when you budget correctly, right, the fire department has a piggy bank. It's got a piggy bank, and we have extra at the end of the year, it goes into the piggy bank, right? We call it free cash. So we say, hey, you got extra money in the bank, we put it in free cash, right? And then every once in a while, we got a capital project or a truck, we go back to the piggy bank and we say, hey, let's do this. Now, over the course of the last few years, okay, we haven't been doing a good job budgeting, okay? We haven't been accounting for expenses. We've been trying to use Plan B. We've been trying to not say, this is what we need, and this is how we're going to operate, and putting those things out for the people to vote. Sometimes we're cutting things before we even let them have a chance to have a say. We can't have a Plan B. We got to tell them what we need, why we need it, and get out there. Now, so in the past, what we've been doing is, well, we didn't budget that correctly. Let's go to the piggy bank. Okay? Now the piggy bank don't sound so good. Piggy bank doesn't have enough bacon on it. Okay? So we got to budget correctly. And listen, nice thing about tax dollars going into the budget, if we don't spend it, it goes into the piggy bank. But all that money is allocated to what? The people in the community. Right? So, I tried very hard to be honest and forthright with the budget, and we got to get some money back in the piggy bank. And hopefully go up the ladder. Yes, sir.
So will your proposal have to be voted upon at the district meeting?
Yes, that's right. So the way that, and I'm just going to say this out loud because it's a little different than Florida. So the elected officials, the fire board here is the executive branch of the government for the district. So the executive branch of the government, the fire commissioners and, the heads of the department, the superintendent of water in the fire department and administrative will develop budgets, but it's really the executive branch's budget. And what they do is, at the annual warrant meeting, which I believe is May 14th, is they present that in a warrant as articles. And the people of the town are the legislative part, and they come vote on the different articles. And I'm speaking slowly because this is when I was in Florida, this is not how it works. They are, so they'll vote on the articles as a legislative body. So there's changes, I'd like to see when it comes to how we budget and do that. But that's the basic gist of it, is us as the executive branch have these budget workshops, work with our elected officials through the executive to develop this budget to present to the public. And that's why we want to get out there and get the message so people understand and hopefully come to the May 14th and say, okay, these people got vision, they got a purpose, they know what they're doing. They're not just swimming in circles and survive and treading water year to year. That's not a good way to operate, and so we need, and this is all part of getting that message out. Just keep going, yeah.
You did a good job of informing the public that it's going to be hybrid flushing. I got a phone call, and I got an email too. How about getting that message out to the public that there's an important meeting coming up with the fire district where we hope will be good attendance? Use that system to notify the public that this meeting is important.
I'm a little lost. Oh, there's a flyer in the water. Listen, I'll be the first to say that we need to do a better job as a fire district communicating. That's why we're having this in a water bill out. And we actually do have a new website under construction to help get that out. And we need to invite the local news media here, TV more to stuff and have more open communication. I don't think the problem, when I assess it to the public, is them wanting a well-funded fire EMS service. I think really where the hiccup is people want to know where their tax money is going. I don't think they have a problem saying, yeah, if that's what it costs for a good service, and that's what it, because you never know. If it's not taking care of you, it's taking care of your neighbor or friend, right? There's just things in society. I don't have children. I happily pay school tax because I really would like to have young, educated people grow up and take care of me so I can have nice things and all these new fancy gadgets and everything that goes into the school system, right? So that's the way I look at fire and EMS. And I think if we do a better job of that, I think there's this fear, but I think that fear is what causes people, whether it's the town or it's the fire district or any government, to try to like pull back, and really what you need to be doing is actually being more vocal or more forward. It's actually the opposite, I think, where success is found.
I agree with those comments. My point is that fire district meetings are usually poorly attended, and I'd say let's have a good effort to get the public to come to that meeting.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all ears on how we can. Yeah. Oh, you want
Allow me to suggest the same way you let me know that there's going to be hybrid flush. Well done.
It was a robocall.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Is that
The same way you announce that this fire district meeting that's coming up is important. That's my suggestion.
I can help you with that. I'm the one that sent out the robocalls for the flare, the hydrant flare.
Oh, I'm like.
So it's a reverse 911, it's called red. I've got access to it, I can help you with that. And we can do a call 2 days before the meeting, have it go out to everyone that subscribes to it.
Oh, okay. I'll go with my beloved colleague. I didn't know he had that over there at the water department. That's why I bluffed him. Like, what is he talking about? We have.
There was also a flyer sent out in everybody's water bill explaining to them what the meeting was.
Yeah, I think with this new website, one of the things would be good in there to have suggestions or comments, or even, I'd like to have, like I said earlier in the presentation, when it comes to the strategic plan, it's a living document, so it's a work in progress. So having some sort of more community input, a small council to come in and help guide the future of where we're going. Sir.
You mentioned how the town doesn't have to provide an EMS entity or ambulance service. Does the town have to provide some sort of documentation amongst their publications to provide a fire department service and who they use and how they structure? And secondly, is there a funding entity, being a retired fireman in Dalton? I know that the town has never, ever contributed until recently for some funds for vehicles. What events and things are happening for that, into a better situation?
I'm trying to, let me take it apart. If I missed something, just let me know. So in Massachusetts, fire and police are considered essential services. So we see the town of Dalton has a police department. The fire district has fire. So if the fire district was to go away, the town would be required to provide some level of fire protection. Now, Mass General Law doesn't say what that level of protection is. I mean, the level of protection could be, I got a truck and I park it in the back. It doesn't stipulate what level. It just says they'd have to provide that service. EMS, obviously, they don't have to provide it. They turned it down. The fire district could have turned it away as well, and then the townspeople would have been left with either no service or it kind of being in the same boat where we're running mutual aid and running the ambulance to these other communities. We're lucky we're not in that boat. In fact, where we're at with EMS isn't to me something where we should ever even have a conversation of not having it. It should be, how do we grow it? And that would help defray or level off the cost of where it goes, because there's a bigger pool of people out there that it serves, right? And we had that conversation a little bit. Retirement, I was in the union for 25 years, so the district has a retirement to Berkshire County retirement. It's a very good retirement system. Are there additional benefits that can be added to that? Well, the answer is yes, right? But that's all a funding thing too that comes from, so it has to be a balance. So everybody there has a retirement system through the Berkshire retirement. They have the availability to do a 457 plan. If people aren't familiar with that, that's just basically the public sector's 401k, and people can contribute to that. So there's different things you can do where the department could contribute to the 457 plus the employee. There's all different sorts of different retirement things. And frankly, I mean, off the cuff, it's something I think is a great way to, when we look at larger departments, there's a rank structure, and there's things to go up, and they have bigger pockets and more specialties and more things to room and grow and grow. So we got to be unique and special in a way that we want people to come to Dalton and we want them to stay, right? Because we're investing time, money, and gear in them. And I think a great way to do that is not only through allowing them to professionally grow by a professional development and education and training and getting them out there, that they bring this back to the community, but looking at innovative ways to then, when they're done and retired, like yourself, to enjoy their retirement, because we all know, the risks associated. I mean, we just found out this year that the firefighting foam that we use is cancerous, right? I don't know how many of you use that. So we're finding all this cancerous and PTSD and all these different health hazards to it. But a means of contributing, say, to a 457 would be a great cost-effective benefit as an employer that maybe somebody else hasn't think about, because you're contributing those monies pre-tax. So from an employer standpoint, you might say you're going to contribute $50, but since it's pre-tax, it's actually only $37.50. So there's innovative ways in marketing and trying to make Dalton the premier place to come and work. But I want to promote it from within, and in the handbook, and just like I talked about those two firefighters, is that in the handbook, which hopefully it'll be adopted and go into effect July 1st, is that there's preference for our young men and women that we want to get out to the high school to, or go to community college. We want to be an employer for our local youth. So there's preference in hiring, which is why these two young individuals are both on-call Dalton residents, and that preference would be for people who already contribute as on-call or per diem or live right here in Dalton. That'd be certainly my preference in getting these people on. They have ties to the community, and we need to build that up. Did I miss any parts of that?
I was really searching for what part of the town is contributing to the benefit of the fires.
All the people in the town are the district.
No, I understand.
Yeah. But is the town giving us any financial support type? I figured that's the question. Now so I got dual hats. So as a fire chief, I'm over at the district, but underneath Mass General Law, the fire chief is also the forestry warden, correct? So as a forestry warden, they have a budget. I don't have anything bad to say about the town or anybody over there, and the town manager has been great to me. I have great substantive conversations with him. My concern as a fire chief or forestry warden, or one and the same, is the availability of an off-road vehicle. commonly referred to as a wildland vehicle. And that was just to help with, I don't know if anybody looked out the window, but we're surrounded by woods. And having the availability to get on 2 trails in the backwoods, whether it be a fire or injury, we don't really have that means at the fire district right now to do that. Having seen extremely large wildfires in Florida, knowing the changes in the environment, we're watching communities throughout this country get caught off guard. And everybody can say, well, it hasn't happened here. Okay, well, that's all good until it happens, and then what? And then the conversation goes from, weren't you prepared, right? No one says, well, before the fire, I was like, well, why am I spending that money? After the fire, they say, why didn't you have that? So I'm trying to work with the town and underneath, and even a joint partnership where we share funds or they pay for funds. They have ARPA money, which isn't really, it's obviously somebody's money. There's federal money over there, and trying to build that bridge and relationship and being constructive and maybe working out the fact that we can get a woods vehicle. And that would help with people who have, they burn in their backyard and it gets out of control. Somebody falls and gets hurt. It could also be used as a mobile appliance for, outbuildings in the back, sheds, barns, or these other things where you can't get an engine that weighs tons and tons. It's not going off-road or anything going back there, but you could certainly use it as an appliance to run water to that and run the hand lines off that smaller vehicle. So those are conversations I'm having with the town and the commissioners every chance I get. I think it's, wise, and if 80, 20, 20, 80, 40, here's the bottom line to me. We need it. And we can stand around and argue about it all day long, this and that, or we can just figure out how to get one. And I see a lot of that go on where people want to talk about who should do what and finger pointing, and really that doesn't help the community at all. We got to get over that. You just moved.
Doesn't the sheriff's department have such a vehicle?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe the sheriff's department has a vehicle like that. They have, there's no water on it. They have Ford Explorers, I think, is their base vehicle over there, and I'm sure they have 4-wheel drive, but there's no firefighting capacity on those. Hey, you're not going to hurt my feelings if it wants to be the fire department, police department, or something. I'm looking for, I got the people, but we got to have the tools and equipment. It'd be like, having pilots and no planes, so that's kind of where it's at. I got firefighters, but now I need a Wilson vehicle. So anyway, like I said, town mayor has been great and substantive conversations, and I hope they will allow me to have a little bit more input as the forestry warden. I was surprised that I wasn't allowed to have like any input into the budget as the department head of that, and that kind of caught me off guard, but change is coming.
One question. Earlier you talked about the guys that have left from the Army grants or safe grants in the past. And I know since I left the fire department, I've been retired for 4 years myself in the department. What are our plans to retain these 2 guys that we plan on hiring?
Well, first and foremost, as a fireman, okay, money doesn't make you happy. Okay? The happiest times I had wasn't about, listen, everybody's got bills to pay and family and things like that. So it's definitely important, and it's a factor when you're comparing wages and benefits with neighboring departments or communities. But we need to create a great environment where people want to come to work, be together with the people they're at. So one of the things, even at the station, the firemen took it upon themselves to clean up, I don't know, but they cleaned up the entire basement downstairs. They had old stuff down there. Lots of old stuff. So they cleaned it out, they redid the floor, and what we've done was we're able to get them all, we're able to get them new weight equipment. So Trying to get them a day room where they can sit down, do the reports, they can relax, unwind from, listen, when a lot of people don't, when you run these calls, they don't ever leave you. It's not a code. You don't go home and hang up your what you see or what you experience at the fire department. It's with you for life. And so being able to get them a proper day room and TV, they just got some weight equipment. Being able to do those things as the fire chief, that's meaningful. So you want to make the firehouse a place you want to come to work to. No one wants to go to a place they don't want to go to work. How do you want to come to work? To go help people during their most difficult times. They need a nice place to come to work. They need good people to work for, and they need to be able to let go and get some of that out, because it never goes away. So work environment is very key to that. And also, we have a chaplain now, someone to talk to. They didn't have that before. So I always look at it as like, I don't have all the answers today. I won't have them all tomorrow, but the more I learn and try to apply, it's really about building, it's about building the future in the right blocks. And I think we've been a little bit stagnant. So hoping to change that. Anybody? Every time I think I'm ready to go. All right, we're done. Yeah. I'm turning off the mic. I don't know how we lock up.